you are already sort of a cybernetic symbiote. Neural nets are taking over from regular programming. So you are connected.
You're connected. I'm connected. He's connected. It's connected.
We're all connected.
We're all connected. Independent.co.uk with the headline here. What happened to the headline? Where's the hell? There it is. Twitter expected to accept Elon Musk's bid to buy company. It's happening.
Yes. It's happening, and actually, Gonz, I have an update for you. This has been a rapidly developing story today on April 5th?
Monday, the 25th,
I think I may have said the wrong thing in the opening, or at least my file is incorrectly named now. But yes, the story. This is another theme of today. Every story we were bringing to the show is being updated like by the minute. Yeah. So I popped a link in there for you, Gonz. This is from nydailynews.com. Not the most reliable thing, but we can confirm in other places. The headline is Elon Musk buys Twitter for almost $44 billion. And it opens up by saying Elon Musk is the new owner of Twitter.
Wow.
Tesla CEO announced Monday that he has acquired the social media platform at his offer price of $54.20 a share, or about $44 billion in total, and plans to take the site private. Quote, free speech is the bedrock of a functioning democracy, and Twitter is the digital town square where matters vital to the future of humanity are debated. Musk said in a statement, quote, I also want to make Twitter better than ever by enhancing the product with new features, making the algorithms open source to increase trust, defeating the spam bots, and authenticating all humans. That I do not like. Twitter has tremendous potential. I look forward to working with the company and the community of users to unlock it. Parag Agrawal, the Twitter CEO who took over for founder Jack Dorsey in November, said he was, quote, deeply proud of our teams and inspired by the work that has never been more important. Blah, a little bit of a change of tone there for Parag, who instituted the poison pill to keep Elon out. And now that Elon's his new boss, he's like, oh, I'm just so proud. We're doing such a good job. Quote, Twitter has a purpose and relevance, and who cares? But that one little line there, wants to authenticate all humans, I think is an interesting little twist. Because as we've been exploring, oh my gosh, just pretty much every category of news over the past 2 years, whether it's, about COVID or the lockdown or the pandemic or ESG, the Great Reset, globalization, the anti-globalization, everything tends to point towards this authenticating all humans. We talk about digital ID, talking about vaccine passports, talking about blockchain, and all these things. Yeah, and now Elon Musk, after he sort of played this space cowboy role, a rogue, billionaire fighting for free speech, and says right in his statement, we want to work with authenticating all humans. What if Twitter can do what the vaccine passport, monolithic elite substructure of society could not do, which is get people to agree to a digital ID. Now, not through vaccine passports, but through Twitter.
Well, that's what's really interesting, because all the talk right now is that authenticating humans can be done using effectively the Lightning Network, I think, the Bitcoin Lightning Network, which is sort of a layer 2 thing that allows you to transfer Bitcoin, little bits of Bitcoin, Satoshis, for much cheaper and quicker and faster. And you need a human to authenticate a verification or a transaction. So
it's so old school, Gonz.
I know, but that's what people are talking about right now. And if you do that, they're saying do that, and then you can orange check mark your account or whatever and declare yourself a human, which great, but also now isn't your address like public to anyone?
Well, sure. I mean, you're getting into some pretty deep esoteric blockchain technology aspects of this, which is true. Esoteric. I just think that, there's to maybe broaden the scope a little bit for perhaps people who aren't so familiar with Bitcoin blockchain technology.
I'm trying to force feed the education here. Just talk
and you're
about
doing
it,
a great job.
and then people will have to pick up on the concepts. You know,
certainly people know more about blockchain technology thanks to your forcing it down their throats, which I appreciate. But I do want to make another connection. Yeah. Another connection for you. His whole thing was free speech.
Yes.
And now it's authenticate human. So it looks like the key to the free speech problem, is kind of antithetical to what the internet was. And there's certainly lots of people wishes it will stay, which is partially anonymous, and that's kind of what has, facilitated a lot of what some might call hate speech, or just junk posting or harassment or whatever.
Whatever.
Usually, no, I'm talking about humans. Like the bad behavior on the internet is facilitated by anonymity, or at least some sort of version of anonymity. Yeah. And so when he's saying, oh, we're going to get rid of the bots, we're going to fix the thing, the algorithms are going to be open source, we're going to authenticate all humans, and free speech. So on one hand, he is supporting the free speech, but it's in the context of you can no longer hide who you are.
Well, that's
if you're going to have free speech, everybody needs to know who you are. So you don't get to hide your horrible words or whatever.
Sure. Well, two things to that. One, I think Twitter, no matter what egg account you are, I think if Twitter really wanted to find out who you are, they could. Number two, like beforehand, I'm talking like before all this Elon stuff gets implemented. Like right now, if there's an anonymous Twitter account posting stuff, if whoever wanted to find out exactly who they were, they could probably do that.
Maybe, yeah, but you could also have a bot.
Well, that's part of the reason why they're getting rid of the bots.
A bot to whoever you want,
right? Or at least making the bot part transparent. I think is part of his plan. Like you will know when you are interacting with the bot on Twitter much more transparently than you do now. That's part of his whole thing.
I'm just saying to your point that like they could figure out who you are anyways. Like yes, that is how the internet works. Anybody could, if you go deep enough, you know how to do it. You could find somebody's exact location, but you could also spoof that.
Right.
Like I could be running a bot that has all the markers that if somebody looked into it, it would be like, oh, it's Gonz. Wow, what horrible things Gonz is saying.
Yeah.
So it doesn't actually authenticate you.
It authenticates the location or the IP. Yeah, the IP
accounts,
of where it's coming from.
The tracking pixels, somebody could spoof you. So this idea of, authenticating humans, and that's what facilitates free speech, is a little bit of a trap because, yes, free speech is good, but it's the classic trap that we get in the panopticon technocracy, which is you get your free speech when you give up your privacy. And that's the trade that seems to be revealing itself in Elon's statement.
Well, it's been a slippery slope for years. I mean, ever since the internet, really, the tension between the ability to say whatever you want without consequence and the ability to remain anonymous. It was going to be one or the other, right? That's been the whole last 10 years of watching social media develop are we going into a society where nobody is free? You can't say anything, you get banned? Or are we going to go into a society where you can say whatever you want, but there are some trade-offs there. You have to sacrifice some level of anonymity to be able to say whatever you want. So I
guess what's getting me is not like that has been the plan the whole time. We know that. Yeah. It's that concept is not revolutionary. No. That's like this little trap that he's laid. I mean, Twitter was probably already going to do that. Yeah. Twitter's been talking about authenticating humans forever. The idea that bots are like uncontrollable and Twitter can't do anything about it is sort of an illusion. I mean, they could if they wanted to. They just don't really care enough to do it. And this idea that, you're going to have to like put your, I don't know I don't think this is what it would be. But for instance, when you're signing up for like a crypto exchange or something and they're doing their KYC,
know your customer.
You got to scan your license, your driver's license.
Yeah.
So, there is a world in which, this authenticating humanness that Elon is talking about here includes something like scanning your license, but it probably won't be. It probably won't be that. It'll be a digital ID.
It'll be a digital ID. It'll be based on more and more of your profile, whether it's biometrics, your eyeball, your fingerprint, whatever it might be. It'll be under the condition of, you get to control that data. You can share it with whoever you want. You get to decide, at least for a little while.
The data is the money. And that's actually the genius part as a businessman for Elon is Twitter is not a successful business. They don't make a lot of money. There's no money to be made in Twitter. That's been their biggest problem for pretty much their entire existence. Yeah. That's why
I don't think there was any other buyers. The board probably saw that nobody. They were probably seeing if they can.
Yeah, but this is different. So hold on, because who knows about the whole thing? There's still details that are going to have to come out and explain the purchase. But the point is, Twitter is an unprofitable business. It is entirely supported by the backroom deals and investments is what keeps it alive, because it's a very effective social control device. It's a social engineering tool is what it is.
Right.
And so the elites have sort of kept it alive through investments and other things. But if he takes it private, then he doesn't have that support of the financial support of elites in the traditional sense. He'll have his own version of it, but it's all about the data. Authenticating the humans will create a giant treasure trove of authenticated data directly linked to real humans, and that's how Twitter is going to make its money. And it's a genius move, but it's a horrible thing for the world and the internet.
Well, and given the context of Elon's perspective on things, that hey, AI is coming, it's already here. It's unleashing a demon or whatever he said, and the only way to combat it or make sure it doesn't get out of control and take over the world is to effectively merge with it or monitor it or connect it with human brains so that humans can basically monitor or keep AI at bay to a certain extent, or at least that's how he says it, right? So it's kind of crazy to think that this is the direction. I mean, this is like one step in truly creating that hive mind. But let's just hope that none of the things he tries to implement are kind of like his smart summon technology. There's real quick, The Verge here, headline, a Tesla vehicle using smart summon appears to crash into a $3.5 million private jet. So there's a video.
So smart summon, for those who don't know, is kind of the thing where you press a button and your Tesla will like come to you, like if you parked it
like Batman, the Batmobile.
Exactly, like the Batmobile. If you parked it like way far out in the parking lot and it's raining, you can press the button and it will automatically leave the parking spot and come pick you up.
Well, there's
just don't try it around any private jets. Apparently,
apparently it doesn't pick up on it. So that's the kind of technology Elon's got rolling out there. But I think this is interesting, the whole Twitter takeover in the context of what's happening worldwide with social media. Feels like part of the Great Reset is, a bunch of musical chairs taking place, people trying to find seats, trade seats, or, put into place different laws and different things going on. This is MSN mirroring CNBC, and the headline is EU agrees on landmark law aimed at forcing big tech firms to tackle illegal content. So we have Elon verifying humans on Twitter over here. And in the EU, we have this new deal. It's called the Digital Service Act. It's a landmark piece of legislation where will require big tech firms to quickly rid their platforms of illegal content, and failure to comply with the rules may result in fines of up to 6% of companies' global annual revenues. Which is kind of like, fine. Whoa, man.
That's a very big fine.
That's huge. So part of the details here, just briefly, the key part of the legislation would limit how digital giants target users with online ads. The DSA would effectively stop platforms from targeting users with algorithms using data based on their gender, race, or religion. Targeting children with ads will also be prohibited. And I thought, that doesn't sound like a bad thing, does it? I mean, they're not. They're not allowed to do.
That's the point.
Yeah. So I'm like, far, I'm like, okay, all right, that's good. They also talk about so-called dark patterns, deceptive tactics designed to push people towards certain products and services will be banned as well. So it's kind of like a dark pattern. So if if someone's pro-Trump is doing a Trump marketing campaign, is that going to be considered dark patterns of deceptive tactics designed to push people towards a certain product? And then it gets even more troublesome here. Tech companies will be required to implement new procedures designed to take down illegal material, such as hate speech, incitement to terrorism, and child sex abuse. E-commerce marketplaces like Amazon must also prevent sales of illegal goods under the new rules, which is like, okay, that's already illegal, so all right. The law includes measures compelling tech giants to be more transparent. Oh, where's my bell? Where's my bell? There it is. About the algorithms they use to recommend content to users. And on that point...
which is what Elon is already claiming he wants to do with Twitter.
Exactly. So this is a worldwide social media technocracy reset, you know?
Yeah.
And as part of this conversation, Obama is in the news last few days. Obama calls for tech regulation to combat disinformation on social media. And you think, okay, you know, your typical Obama take here, progressive, whatever. But he's actually pushing for reforms of Section 230, and Section 230 is what allowed the internet to flourish in the 90s and all this kind of stuff, to allow platforms to not be responsible for all the content that gets published there. But of course, you know, platforms like Twitter have sort of abused that, the double standard, so to speak, of being an editor and a publisher. Protections, yeah. So Obama says here, the very design of this is Obama talking, the very design of these platforms seems to be tilting us in the wrong direction, Obama said at a Stanford Cyber Policy Center event. And then later he says, I might never have been elected president if it wasn't for websites like, and I'm dating myself, MySpace, Meetup, and Facebook that allowed an army of young volunteers to organize, raise money, spread our message, Obama said. That's what elected me. So he's basically saying like he understands what the importance of the internet when it comes to social movement. And then he said Congress should consider reforms to the law and that platforms should, quote, be required to have a higher standard of care when it comes to advertising on their website. Ding, ding, ding. Same thing as the EU. Quote, if properly structured, regulation can promote competition and keep incumbents from freezing out new innovators, yeah, end quote. The problem is we often don't know what principles govern those decisions. So Obama advocated for, guess what it is, Basil?
What?
Increased transparency around the design of tech platforms, like the concept to a proprietary meatpacking method.
Right. So
and it goes on. Yeah, there's a couple more things. But yeah,
I'm actually not as surprised as you are to hear Obama say this. And I'll tell you why. Because we've been scoping out, we've been tracking the trend of government versus big business.
Right.
And we've seen recently, big business, specifically tech companies, become as unto their own nation state.
Yes.
We've talked about the future of no nations, or at least your geographical belonging to a nation is like the least important identifying factor to you. It's more about your usership, your citizen. What tech company has your citizenship?
Right.
And that's not even just metaphorical anymore.
No, it's not.
That's literal. Like, we've got movements and laws on the books where large corporations can start their own town with their own law enforcement and their own hospitals and their the legislation in Nevada, I believe Wyoming has something similar. And we've been tracking, of course, data being the new oil. The most valuable resource in the world is no longer controlled through international geopolitical deals, but rather international tech corporations gathering up all the data and then sort of wielding it in what would traditionally be called, a political way, in the same way a government would. And we've tracked for a few years now the battle between big business and government. And it's also, the one part where it gets a little twisty-turvy for me is Great Reset, which is talking about, they're trying to make corporations the stakeholders of capitalism, of government, of. So really, when I see Obama and the EU, traditional kind of semi-old world positions as politicians or organizations fighting to really hamstring tech corporations.
Yeah, with words.
Yeah, well, with laws. And this is really more than anything.
Which are words on
the
paper.
next salvo, the next battlefield, the next sort of big blow in the almost literal war between tech companies and the power they wield and traditional governments. Traditional governments holding on to power as tightly as they possibly can, while tech corporations slowly erode that power. And I think we're seeing a big sort of strategic move for traditional governments to maintain the power that they love so dearly.
Yeah, or at least if they're going to allow the big tech to flourish or continue to flourish.
They got to bend the knee.
Yeah, there's got to be some kind of trade-off, right? There's some compromise being made. So, yep.
They need to submit. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You know, this is like Obama in the EU rolling up a newspaper and threatening, Mark Zuckerberg.
Right.
To like get in line, sit down, be a good dog, or else.
Yep. And yeah, I
or else
really,
we'll put you in front of Congress again and make you look like a weird robot.
Yeah, the cyber pandemic aspect of this too. It feels like that's the sort of the last big hurrah. Like once all the regulation and the technology and everything is in place, then they can flip the switch and shut everything down, because then all the infrastructure flips over to whatever they're resetting to.
Well, and that's why the cyber pandemic, Klaus Schwab's cyber pandemic,
big plan,
was more of a threat than a warning.
Right.
It was not him saying like, "Ooh, watch out, a cyber pandemic will get you." It was, watch out, big tech, because if you don't get in line, a cyber pandemic can take it all down.
To your point about, looking at the emerging technocracy here and how it's a little bit less contingent on geographical locations, more so on perhaps ideology or whatnot.